Alright guys, the highlights from our chat room. I only made a couple calls today. Express Scripts was one of them. It gapped down yesterday and did this big push down, back up. So today it was kind of interesting. And because of that big gap, I'll have to zoom in here. It was basing below the high of the day right here. I liked it over this base. My long idea was 54.35. If it broke this base, I thought that could get it through the high of the day and light up the new high sticker and get going. So right there's the trigger. No, there's the trigger, and the stop was 54.18. So 17 cents risk, not too bad. It came down but did not stop out, and then this time was for real, and then got through the high of the day and ended up making it over 55 at one point. All right, and sold my last little bit right up there near 55. So from 54.35 to 55.10. What is that? 75-cent move on 17 cents risk, something like that. Okay, and also I'm going to cover the SMS calls today. Now, if you look at the SPY here, the market pretty ugly. Here's the daily on the SPY. Pretty nasty breakdown today. I'm thinking it has something to do with the election, but I'm trying not to get started because I got a little political in chat today, and I ended up having to make an apology video to the members, which is posted on YouTube. It's a silent video, but anyway. I'm thinking the sell-off had something to do with the election. I keep thinking the Dow was down, let me check. Just a mere 312 points. But anyway, I had a nice day and I didn't go short once, so I'm kind of proud of that. But here's the two SMS calls, which is our new service where we send them out via text. Now, First Solar was strong this morning. For FSLR was strong right off the bat because of the election again. And GTAT caught my eye, another solar-related stock. It was really ripping here, okay? And if you look at the daily, and keep in mind, at the time, this was a solid green candle, okay? But, you know, on the daily, okay? So anyway, and it was coming off of this $4 area that it hit back here in June and again last month. So I loved the volume. I love the fact that it was coming off support again. This felt really good, but I didn't do anything with it until it got right about here. Okay, the SMS call was at 4:30 on this turn here, okay? And it doesn't look like much, but it went to 4:45. Now, I know you're talking 15 cents, but on a $3 stock, you know, that's not a bad percentage gain. And this is the one downfall to the SMS players that can't be in our chat room, okay? We took this, and most of us were selling some into this pop. Now, keep in mind, if you look at what time this was popping, about 11:15 this morning. Let me go back to the SPY and look at what the SPY was doing at 11:15 this morning. So the SPY was getting killed. Actually, yeah, the SPY was getting killed right at that same time. So the fact that this one was, you know, relative strength to the market, we were selling into that because the SPY was so weak. So many of us had a nice profitable trade in this one, whereas if the SMS players just held it all day, they ended up getting stopped out down here. So there's the, you know, the downfall. And of course, there was no way of knowing. I expected a sell-off today, but the fact that everybody expected a sell-off today actually made me a little bit leery of that, because usually when the whole crowd thinks something, you have a tendency to get a move the other way. So, but I had no idea the Dow would be down over 300 points. Or I probably would have just refrained from making SMS calls today. And then the other one was SO. I called SO right here at 43 bucks. It looked just like this when I called it. And again, if you look at the daily, this thing is just so beaten up. Look at that, 5 days down in a row and a long day today. So this was overdue for a bounce, and then it had that intraday shape we look for. You've heard me talking, if you've seen any of our videos, you've heard me talk about shape, like a shape change. And this is grinding lower, and you get that shape change, increasing volume. So remember, the stops are a little bit wider on these. But anyway, took it at 43. It held the stop here and then got back up through 43, but it only got to 43.20 something. And again, in chat, we made money on this thing, okay? Didn't hit the stop here. And actually gave people in our chat a good place to add, because it did another shape change and another push down here. Some people added on this, I believe, which gave them like a 42.90 average. Anyway, it made it to, even if you didn't add, it held the stop and then went up 20 cents. So it's certainly nothing to brag about, but you were green, you know, for a good couple hours there. Whereas if you are just managing the SMS and planning on just selling it before the close, you ended up with a loss or a flat trade or something. But there's the advantage to being in the chat room and being able to monitor trades as they unfold, because we always sell into spikes, at least part of the trade. I'm going to go over some other ideas today. NSM, one of our stocks we had on watch, okay, is severely beaten up. Okay, so then today, when it looked like this, it was just grinding. It finally wasn't putting in a wide range day, okay, and it was grinding. And then on this volume spike right here, I posted NSM volume in the room. And that's what, whenever we see an unusual volume spike, now we all already knew that NSM was severely beaten up, oversold, and so meeting our Tokyo parameters. Now I didn't give a trigger and stop, and somebody yelled at me for that today. I just typed out NSM volume, but the way to play that is, again, it was beneficial already having this on watch. We all knew this was oversold anyway, so we put out volume spikes on any stock that we see, but it's always nicer when it's a stock that we already have on watch that day, because then we're familiar in our minds with what the chart looks like, which made this one even easier to jump into on this spike off the lows. It met all of our, what we call our Tokyo trade parameters on the volume spike, which just means if you took it that way, the way we teach, you would have grabbed it right here, 25.75. Your worst case stop is going to go below this 5-minute candle at 25.59. So that's only 16 cents risk. Again, I want to be clear, I didn't give a trigger and stop. I just typed out volume, but you'll see from some comments in the chat room, we had several members make a lot of money on this one. So anyone that jumped in there, and B-Turk, by the way, one of our all-stars, called it in the 25.60s on that volume spike, even before the high of that candle. Okay, again, the worst case stop is going to be 25.59. But anyway, even from 25.75, look at this. It ends up going all the way and almost closing at its highs. Ends up going to 27.28. And again, a lot of celebrating on that one. So that was a very, very nice trade there. Again, without an exact trigger and stop, but it was a perfect Tokyo setup. I already talked about Express Scripts. Bear with me a second here. I've gone into the SMS calls. PCS, I gave an idea, but it didn't trigger. Talked about GTAT. Oh, and then early on, I actually called one maybe irresponsible trade. It was VRNG. We all know if you trade at all this crazy stock, but when it was nearing the early high today, actually got halted yesterday. The early high was 374. So when it looked like this, I typed out 375. Here's the exact wording I used. VRNG 375, 359, trigger and stop. Trade very small with this one if it triggers and use limit orders. The theory was, as beaten up as this was in a nice reversal yesterday and then the halt, and then it held on pretty well today, the theory was if it starts lighting up the new high sticker, it could rip. And there's the trigger, and I ended up selling it. I took a nickel loss right here because it triggered, in other words, it printed new highs, and that was the trigger or the catalyst I was looking for. People see VRNG scrolling by the new high sticker, and then they start piling in. And if it didn't happen, I was right back out. So I didn't take the full loss in that. I took about a nickel loss, and I announced that in chat. So anyone who followed me did lose a nickel on VRNG, and then you see it rolled over. But the theory made sense to me, and VRNG just could have easily broken the high of the day and ripped about 30 or 40 cents. So to me, considering I only lost a nickel, it was an intelligent risk-reward idea. It just didn't work. And I think that's all I have from the day. So, yeah, I'm looking at my notes. That's it. I'll quit babbling, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.